Okay guys, so we're going to start with the most complicated version of the Lucas Simone's layered portraits now. What makes it a little bit more complicated is we're going to use a template this time. So we're going to use a hexagonal pattern, which we're then going to keep adding onto the portrait and using as a template to cut through the portrait each time. So it just gets a little bit trickier. So just like before, I'm going to set up my workspace. I'm going to select Windows at the top, Arrange, and then Float all in Windows. And like before, I'm going to keep an example of what I'm aiming to get open. I've got my template here for the hexagon, and I've got my portrait over here on the side. I'm just going to delete the layers from that previous copy. Okay, I'm going to expand the window a little bit by clicking on the bottom there and open that out a little bit more. And then just zoom in using Control+. Okay, so we're going to click on to this file onto our hexagon pattern. When you select in one of these, I'd zoom in and make sure that the lines are quite sharp. If it looks a little bit pixelated on the edges, then when you cut out the picture, it'll look pixelated. Okay, then we just Control A to select all, Control C to copy, click on the file we want to paste it onto, Control V. Okay, I'm going to expand the hexagon pattern a little bit, so Control T, hold down Shift key and make that a little bit larger. So it's a better size for our image. And press return to apply the transformation. Okay, we're going to select around the outside of it now. So I'm going to use a magic wand tool and just click anywhere around the outside of that layer. So not even on the white bit, anywhere around the outside. Okay, making sure I am on that layer. And then what you should see is it's put a dotted line all the way around the outside of the image and around the outside of this layer. So making sure I'm on that layer, on the layer palette. I'm now going to edit, fill with white. Okay, so I've got my portrait underneath. Just going to deselect that, my portrait underneath, and then on top I've got the hexagonal print file. I'm just going to do a couple of bits to tidy that up before we move on. So I'm going to click on that layer. I'm going to use a marquee tool, a rectangular marquee tool from the left-hand palette, zoom in a little bit, and I just want to get rid of that straight line on the image. Leaving just a little bit of black on the underside of that last hexagon there. And then select Edit, Fill again with white. Okay. Well, I'm just going to expand this pattern a little bit. So I'm going to use a marquee tool again. Select the whole of the pattern, copy it, Control C, paste it, Control V. And then I'm going to set the layer mode, so click on the layer over here in the layer palette, and in the mode where it says normal, change that to multiply. I'm going to move that down here so that it lines up with that bottom corner, just to expand that pattern a little bit more. Use arrow keys to get it exactly where I want it. Do this as much as you want to. I want it a little bit asymmetrical, so I'm going to leave it like that. And then click return to apply. Okay, well, we're going to merge layers now. So this is something you might have to do quite a lot later on. So in the layer palette again, on the top layer, with that selected, I'm going to hold down Shift and select the next layer. So with the two layers selected now, I'm going to click anywhere in this sort of dark grey blue area, right click, select merge layers, and then that will combine those two layers into one. Now if we zoom in just a little bit more tidying up, we can see like a little bit of sort of grey areas where it's been watermarked, the original image. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. I'm just going to take the dark bits up a little bit and the midtones up a little bit, just to try and get rid of that watermark a little bit. You should see it going a bit darker. I don't want to go too far. You can see what happens. The edges go a little bit furry, so we're going to stay somewhere in between. Then click OK. I think that'll be enough. Okay, great. We're ready to start cutting into our image. So I'm going to zoom back out again. Turn on the background image and click on that layer. Now we're going to have to constantly duplicate this layer. So to do that, we just right click on it, duplicate layer. So we've got a copy of it. We want to cut through the copy, not the original. This background layer we want to keep as it is. So I'm now going to click on the template and I'm going to drop the opacity a bit so you can see what we're doing. So just a little bit, so it's a little bit semi-transparent. And we're going to use the Magic Wand tool. So over here on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to select the Magic Wand tool. Sometimes it might show as a quick selection tool. So you just right click on it or click the little arrow, select Magic Wand. And we're going to click on the white area of that layer. Okay. Then turn that off a second so you can see what we're doing. Click on this image here and we're going to use select now inverse. So actually what I want to do is keep all the bits around the outside and the gaps in between the hexagons, get rid of the space in between. Okay, and then edit cut or Control X. Now, so you can see what's happened, we're going to apply a layer style. So this little thing where it says FX here, add layer style, and we're going to apply a drop shadow. Again, keep the settings the same as we have on the previous ones. 25 for the distance, spread about 12, size about 29, but experiment with those. And then click OK. Right, great. So what we want to do is keep creating multiple versions and layers of this. So we go back to our background and we repeat the process. So click on the background, duplicate layer, turn on our mask. I'm going to move it and or resize it a bit. So Control T, hold down Shift key and make it a little bit bigger this time. And move it a little bit, apply, press return. I'm going to move this down so I know which layer I'm working on. You don't need to, but it'll just might make it a bit easier for you. Turn off the top layer I've cut through for the time being. And then just click in the white area again. It's missed a little bit here, so I'm just going to click on that as well. Then select inverse again. Click onto the layer because that's what we want to cut out. Edit, Control X or edit cut. Cut that bit out of the image again. And then down to layer style, we're going to add a drop shadow. Same settings. Okay, great. What we want to do now is we build it up in complexity, is move the layers a little bit. So on this layer, I'm going to click on the move tool and I'm just going to shift it out of position at touch. So each time we just move them further and further out of position to create a more and more complicated image. Okay, if you've got that far so far, well done. We're just going to keep building and adding on that. I'm going to pause the video for a second, and then if you just open up the next video, that will talk you through it. Well done so far, guys.